It began as a tragedy that many believed was open and shut. A grieving husband, a sudden death, and a medical examiner's ruling of suicide. But as the investigation unfolded, the story became darker, filled with lies, fear, and a trail of abuse that could no longer be ignored. This is the story of Amanda Peralt, the wife of a police officer whose death divided a community and raised the question, was it suicide or murder? A shocking call on February 3, 2020, the Jones County Police Chief received a phone call from one of his own, Officer Seth Peralt. His words were chilling. His wife Amanda had killed herself. Investigators rushed to the Peralt residence, where they found Seth sitting on the front steps with his head in his hands. He gave officers permission to search the house. Inside, they found Amanda's body. The position of her body was strange. Flat on her back, legs nearly together, arms tucked by her side. A gun was on the floor near her, the magazine ejected but with a bullet still in the chamber. To experienced investigators, it didn't look right. They had seen suicides before, but never like this. The scene just wasn't adding up. Sheriff Howard Sills later recalled, and from that moment, suspicions began to grow. A husband's story, Seth told investigators that the couple had been arguing in bed. He claimed Amanda suddenly produced his gun and shot herself. "I just sat there and watched my wife execute herself," Seth said. His use of the word execute raised immediate red flags. Investigators had never heard anyone describe suicide in that way. Seth insisted that Amanda was upset, that she felt guilty for damaging his reputation, and that he had nothing to do with her death. He repeated again and again that he was a good police officer, and that Amanda knew it. He claimed she couldn't live with the guilt of lying when she previously called 911 to accuse him of abuse. But Amanda's sisters, Angie and Alicia Johnson, weren't convinced for a second. "We know our sister," Angie said firmly. "Amanda loved life. She would never have done this." Amanda's life with Seth. To understand Amanda's death, investigators had to understand her marriage. Amanda met Seth in 2011, shortly after a divorce. At first, Seth seemed different, attentive, affectionate, and vulnerable. He was battling cancer and unemployed, and Amanda quickly became his caretaker. Within months, they moved in together. But soon, Seth's controlling nature emerged. He didn't let Amanda have her own phone. She didn't have a car. She was financially dependent on him, and his parents paid most of their bills. Amanda's family began to notice her absence. Holidays and family events came and went, but Amanda wasn't there. She was too busy hosting for Seth's family, cooking and cleaning, while he increasingly cut her off from her sisters. In 2017, after years of living together, Amanda and Seth quietly married at a courthouse. Her sisters believed it wasn't out of love but strategy. Seth was fighting for custody of his daughter, and being married would make him look stable. By 2018, Seth got a job with the Eaton Police Department, and the couple bought a home near Lake Oconee. From the outside, it looked like success, nice house, stable job, family man. But behind closed doors, the fights grew worse, often fueled by alcohol and pain pills. Amanda's family heard her voice shake during phone calls, begging them not to call 911 after arguments. She was terrified of what might happen if they did. The 911 call just days before her death, on January 28, 2020. Amanda dialed 911 in desperation. "It's my husband. He's putting his hands on me," she cried. She had barricaded herself in a bedroom before running next door to a neighbor's house. Deputies responded and arrested Seth for simple battery and family violence. Amanda had the chance to request a stay-away order, but she didn't. Instead, she allowed Seth to return home, afraid of what might happen if she didn't. Her family begged her to leave, but Amanda told them the truth. "I'm not trying to get killed." 5 days later, she was dead. Red flags at the scene. From the very beginning, Sheriff Sills believed something was wrong. Amanda's body position was unnatural for a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The gun was near her foot, the magazine ejected, and yet a bullet still chambered. Something that made no sense unless someone else had handled the weapon. Amanda's sleeves and hands showed no blood. There was a damp green towel in the closet, and Seth smelled of shampoo when deputies arrived. Investigators also noticed nearly 20 empty bottles of Fireball whiskey scattered around the room. Seth's story began to unravel further when surveillance footage surfaced. Hours before Amanda's death, he was seen wearing a Pink Floyd t-shirt and black pants at a liquor store. When deputies arrived at his house later, he had changed clothes. Those original clothes were found in the washing machine, suspiciously dry. Then there was the fact that Seth didn't dial 911 after his wife's alleged suicide. Instead, he called his police chief and spoke with him for nearly 20 minutes before authorities arrived. Amanda's voice from the grave. The prosecution's case against Seth grew stronger when Amanda's cell phone was examined. Videos and text messages painted a chilling picture of domestic violence. In one video, Amanda accused Seth of choking her and beating her. "You choked me 8 times. She cried on camera. Photos showed her with bruises, a black eye, and a split lip. In text messages to her sisters, she described being terrified of him. Amanda even confided in a neighbor, warning that if she ever turned up dead, it would be Seth who killed her. Her words became the most powerful evidence that Amanda's death was not her choice. It was the result of years of abuse. The arrest and the long wait. Just 2 days after Amanda's death, Seth was arrested for murder. His family was stunned, but Amanda's sisters felt a wave of relief. Finally, justice seemed possible. But then came a twist. The state medical examiner ruled Amanda's death a suicide, citing the lack of gunpowder residue around the wound. The case stalled. COVID-19 shutdowns delayed the grand jury, and Seth remained in jail for 9 months before the case finally moved forward. Despite the suicide ruling, the grand jury indicted Seth on charges of malice murder, felony murder, and aggravated assault. Prosecutors believed the physical evidence, Amanda's own words, and the history of abuse told a different story, one that ended with murder, not suicide. The trial in February 2022, Seth Peralt went on trial. He pled not guilty and chose not to testify. His defense attorney, Justin Kenney, argued there was no solid proof Seth pulled the trigger. He pointed to Amanda's high blood alcohol level, 3 times the legal limit, and claimed she could have acted impulsively. The prosecution countered with crime scene photos, testimony from neighbors about years of violence, and Amanda's recordings. They showed Seth's inconsistencies, his suspicious behavior with his clothing, and his failure to call 911. Perhaps the most damning testimony came from Amanda's young stepdaughter. In a forensic interview, she described seeing her father push Amanda and put his hands on her during fights. She recalled Amanda telling her that if Seth ever lost custody, he would shoot her dead. Though the girl later hesitated on the stand, the recorded interview still weighed heavily on the jury. Verdict and legacy. The jury faced a difficult decision: believe the medical examiner's suicide ruling or the mountain of circumstantial evidence suggesting murder. After deliberation, they sided with the prosecution. Seth Peralt was convicted of murdering his wife Amanda. The verdict was a bittersweet moment for Amanda's family. Justice was served, but nothing could bring her back. Her sisters continued to share her story, hoping it reminds others to speak up about abuse, even when the abuser wears a badge. Amanda was scared because he was a police officer, Angie said, but her voice lives on in the evidence she left behind. Aftermath and impact. After Seth Peralt's conviction, the case left a lasting scar on the community of Eaton, Georgia. For neighbors, it was a chilling reminder that the fights they overheard were not just arguments, but warnings of something far more dangerous. Many later admitted they wished they had called for help sooner, but fear of Seth's badge kept them silent. Amanda's sisters, Angie and Alicia, have since become outspoken advocates for domestic violence awareness. They remind others that even when the abuser is in a position of power, whether a respected figure, a police officer, or someone with authority, victims deserve to be heard and protected. Their message is simple: silence only empowers the abuser. Amanda's story continues to be shared on true crime platforms, not just as a case of justice served, but as a lesson. The evidence showed her fear in text messages, bruises captured in photos, and her voice trembling in videos. She had been telling the world she was in danger long before her death. For her family, keeping her memory alive means ensuring no one else suffers the same fate in silence. The death of Amanda Peralt shows how appearances can hide dangerous truths. Behind the image of a respected officer and family man was a pattern of control, violence, and fear. Amanda tried to survive, but her warnings were ignored until it was too late. This case is a haunting reminder that domestic violence can happen anywhere, to anyone, and that silence can be deadly.